Hello, hello, and welcome. It's Jules Chabot here, Celtic wildlife artist. And it must be Friday and it must be 10 o'clock in the morning UK time because it's weekly wildlife wisdom. So, welcome one and all. And today I'm going to be talking with you about raven wisdom, who are incredible beings, and we're fortunate enough to have visiting ravens. They're here for various parts of the year. We live very rurally, and there is a small area of woodlands in the village. Well, it's not really a village, little hamlet where we are. And the reason that ravens came to me this week was because we hadn't heard them calling and have the most amazing vocalizations. But we hadn't heard them for quite a while. And my husband David just said to me, I think it was about Monday or Tuesday, "Oh, I wonder why we haven't heard from the ravens." And literally the next day, I was sat here in my studio looking out the window, and all I could hear was the cronking and the wonderful vocalizations that the ravens make. So I knew they were back, and several times since then I've heard them. We very rarely see them. We tend to see them high up in the biggest, oldest trees, or flying that way, but they don't engage with the human folk at all here. And I can understand why, because most corvids have been very badly persecuted and still are in many situations. So they know, and they hand that ancestral knowing to their youngsters to stay away, stay clear from humans. Which is absolutely fine because we just feel so lucky to have them close by. So I don't know if you ever have the honour of hearing or seeing ravens where you are, but if you do, you are very, very fortunate. But if you don't worry about that. You can still very much learn from these amazing beings, the way they live their life. What we understand about animals from our human perspective is often very limited. And it was only back in ancient times that our ancestors, and in the indigenous peoples of the various lands around the world, had a much deeper understanding of who they really are beyond our physical three-dimensional realms of living here on planet Earth, very much fixed on a human perspective, and oftentimes very disconnected from what is beyond our physical experience and what goes through the veils of our physical witnessing of being here on the earth. And that's what I love to explore. My ancestry is Scottish Highlands, and I have a bit of Irish blood as well. And my mum is Scottish, from the northeast Highlands of Scotland, and also on my father's side, his mother had some Scottish but mainly Irish blood as well. So it feels very close and near and dear to me. And I love to connect and learn more about Celtic wisdom because it really does sound and feel like truth to me, living closely with nature and being part of nature rather than separate from nature. Good morning, Susie. Welcome. It's lovely to have you here. Lovely to see your message coming through, as always. So today with the ravens, I want to tap in a little bit to that Celtic wisdom, but also intuitively to what I receive from them when I connect with them. And I'm sure when you do too, you'll pick up on these amazing, beautiful energy vibrations from the ravens. So I wanted to start. Susie saying she's quarter Irish. Excellent. So there's Celtic blood in your veins, Susie. And I know there's a lot of people that I connect with over on Instagram and Facebook that have sort of Celtic ancestry. But even if you don't, to me, if this resonates with you when you tune in to these messages, it doesn't matter whether you have Celtic ancestry or whatever ancestry you have. The strong connection of humanity to all nature is unbreakable, but many people have lost or forgotten a lot of their connection, and that's when we tend as a species collectively to go away from following the middle way, the laws of nature. And when we break or bend those laws of nature, we are getting out of alignment, and then things start to come undone in our world, and it affects all life on earth. So for me, I've always, from my earliest memories, known that we need to stay close to Mother Nature. We need to listen and respect and honour her and her laws above all else, to survive and to thrive and to live in balance and to have peace and joy. And so for me, it's the answer to any issue that comes up. So let's dive into ravens, because I'm conscious that I get on my soapbox and tell you all about my beliefs, which is important, and I hope it resonates with you as well. Susie's saying, I believe there were also Celts in Germany and Italy. Yeah, there's Celts in a number of different places across Europe, and yeah, it is wonderful wisdom. But it's not, I'm not preaching this as the only way, or you have to be Celtic. I'm merely sharing what I feel passionate around nature and wildlife, and how I truly believe that it can help us as individuals and as a collective to live in greater harmony on the planet. So, ravens. Gaelic name for the raven is Bran, which is lovely, isn't it? And the Bran kind, raven kind, can help us to reach through the veil. So through the veil, I mean through this experience of living in this three-dimensional physical world. Wind blowing the door open, if you're wondering. Got a lovely breeze coming through on this sunny day. And they can help us to connect with the non-physical beings, so our ancestors, our guides, angels, whatever terminology you feel comfortable using for those beings that are no longer in the physical form here on planet Earth, but have a connection with us, and to do that in a respectful, honouring and boundaried way as well, to make sure that we are tuning into healthy ancestors, healthy guides that will guide us and protect us as we move on our own path in our life. Susie's saying, yes, I think we need to learn to be true natives of our space. Yeah, that's a lovely way of putting it, Susie. I love that. And the animals and nature are such good teachers of that. So the ravens really can help us with what the Scottish Highlanders would call second sight. So this is about really tapping into our intuition through our heart, our soul connection, asking the higher powers, however we view that, to help and guide us. But we can only tune into that information when we become quiet enough, still enough in our minds, which is why daily rituals, daily prayers, daily meditations can really help us to find that quiet place where we can then ask respectfully, once we've built relationships, good, strong, trustworthy relationships with our guides and ancestors, to help us with decisions, with ways of perceiving things, to help us move forward in our life and to learn our life lessons as we go along, rather than just perpetually repeating cycles that we don't like or don't make us feel good. And so this is known in the Scottish Highlands as second sight, and I'm sure that probably carries over to other traditions as well. And so the ravens have a very strong ability to um, prophesy, so they can connect with the ancestors very, very easily, seamlessly. They have a very high level of intuition and a very high level of intelligence as well. And intelligence not just measured by human measures, because animals, nature can do the most incredible things that we would never be able to do, and all of those skills and abilities are intelligence. So when we tune in and ask and build our relationship with the ravens, we can really learn from them and ask for them to help us to build our own ability to have this second sight, so that we can receive really powerful protection and guidance to do good in our lives. And I always talk about humanity doing good for the highest good of all, rather than just for our own selfish purposes or selfish needs, egoic needs that are out of alignment. So for me, doing this is sacred. And in order to live in a sacred way, we need to be following this path of true alignment that is good for all, not just good for an individual or good for ego aggrandizement. So I make that really, really clear in all of my teachings. And so when we work with them, as I say, we need to be wondering about why we're here and what our ancestors want to convey to us. I really believe that through our ancestral bloodlines, whatever they are, there are key life lessons that they desire us to learn and to grow from and to grow beyond as we live here. It's not a competition, and it's not a you're only good enough if you achieve it. I don't think you ever get to completion of these lessons, but it's about progression, and it's about forward momentum with regards to make a difference in our lifetime, however long or short that may be, because we never know. And the ravens are also, as I alluded to, shapeshifters. So they are able to take form in this world and in other worlds as well. And so they can help us to navigate between the worlds safely and respectfully. And so it's a great practice to sit and commune and focus in, for example, this week with ravens, to ask them what they wish for us to learn, what they can do to help us to commune with our ancestors, to listen and learn from their ancient wisdom, and to put that into our modern day life in an appropriate way that helps us to do good in the world. And the ravens are also, along with all corvids, they have a strong connection, as a lot of animals do, with helping to, they already are in a state of complete acceptance and natural flow with the life cycle. But us humans have got a lot of baggage typically around the idea of death and dying, that we would do well to heal and accept and bring into our life. As we have been born, we will live for however long that is, with whatever's happening for us in our life, and then we will come to a point where we begin to die, and then finally die coming out of this body. And then what happens after that? I mean, I won't go into what I believe about that now, but I strongly believe that there is much more than just death, and that we can choose whether we come back, whether we take other non-physical form and have other roles. So it's really a transition and not something to be feared, which unfortunately most of us humans have had so much conditioning to be fearful of dying. So they can really help us with that, because I think once you shift that fear and try to release, let go of as much of that as you can. It gives you a bigger opening in your life to look at what you want to do and what you might like to change in your life. Because often people will get very tied into, if I do this and this happens and this happens, and then I might, and ultimately escalating to, oh, and then I'll starve to death and die, so I can't do that. I must stay here and I mustn't do that. And it can really be something that limits us. And I'm not talking about becoming reckless and doing all sorts of crazy things and risking our lives and the lives of others. Of course I'm not. But I'm talking about not allowing this conditioning to hold us back. Oh, hello, Helen. It's lovely to have you here. Welcome, welcome. My lovely friend Helen and lovely friend Susie are here live, so it's fabulous to have you here. And thank you to everybody tuning in on the replay as well, because I know a lot of you do. You're all very welcome. So they can help us with transitions, and it's not just about physical death. It can be the death of parts of our lives as things come to an end. Maybe we move job, maybe we end a relationship, maybe we stop doing something that we've done for a very long time in our life, and we go through a grieving process. And Raven energy and wisdom can really help us to be able to, again, step into that grief and allow that grief to flow through us in all the different phases that may come up for us, without resistance and without trying to suppress it. And that's really healthy for us as well. So when you've got endings in your life, and let's face it, they happen quite regularly in our lives when you stop to think about it, really tune in. Excuse me, I've got a tickle in my throat. Tune into ravens and ask them for their guidance and their help. And I think you need to do that regularly. I don't think it's something that you just do when you've got a problem. Excuse me. I think we need to honor the relationships we have with other beings and turn up regularly. And that's not a criticism, because I've been struggling really to come to daily practice for a little while now, but I am getting that call to return to it. So it's not about criticizing ourselves or others, but about realizing and returning to that connection. So that's really important. And there really is no end to the insight and the support and the protection that you can receive when you ask and you build that bond between yourself and your ancestors. And again, many Indigenous people say that all nature are our ancestors. They have been here in many forms over many lifetimes. Susie's asking, is this a role all corvids play? Yeah, they do, Susie. They really are connected with life, death, life. And unfortunately, again, they have been very misrepresented and misunderstood by a lot of humanity because of that fear of death. But really what they are is masters of being able to help us move through transitions, whatever they are. And when we become much easier around that and much more aligned and accepting and honouring those feelings and emotions and fears and letting them come through us and then releasing them, we live a much easier, more peaceful life. And that's really what would be ideal for humanity as we move forward in today's world, is that we, as many of us as possible, remember that this is possible and strive in a balanced way towards that, and to maintain that in our lives and to remember these things. Ravens are incredibly versatile in their physical life here. They're very adaptive, so they do whatever is required. They are brilliant at morphing, so they can morph in and out of the veils without us being aware of it, without us knowing it. They are very mystical, so they remember at very deep ancient levels a lot of the truths of nature and of life and of being. beyond Mother Earth, but obviously when they take physical form here, they're very earthed into that. They're very, very smart and knowing. And as I mentioned, they are multi-dimensional. So there's so much for us to learn because we are multi-dimensional beings too. Again, we have typically been conditioned not to believe that, or to believe that's all mumbo jumbo. But in truth, anyone who has meditated, who has prayed, who has asked for help, who has done that consistently and has opened up, will attest to the fact that there is a lot more to life than we've been led to believe as humans. So I think that's really, really important to remember. Also, ravens, and this is the final point, they are super powerful at helping us release old stuck wounds and cutting free. So if you've got stuckness, and I'd be very surprised if you said you hadn't, because I know I have, if you've got stuckness, they are really, really helpful to help us to heal and release. And this is all about, so life, death, life is also about light and dark. And again, there's a lot of misrepresentation around what darkness is. I think there can be out of alignment actions, beliefs, and ways of being in the world that are very unhealthy and very damaging and destructive. But I keep them separate from the understanding of yin and yang, the light and the dark, black and white, the sacred masculine energy of the white, and the sacred feminine energy of the black or the dark. So the light and the dark are both sacred, but they need to work and live and exist in harmonious balance, not conflicted, and not one's good and one's bad, or it's not about gender, it's about energy. And it's about being able to balance and accept and understand that we are souls in human bodies. So we have light and dark within us. All life has light and dark within it. And I take out of that equation this misunderstanding of bad things, to give it a simple label, where morally, ethically, it is not life sustaining, the actions that take place in this place. These bad things where we are destructive, willfully destructive, and anti-life and peace and reverence and respect and honour. They are not inclusive in animals and nature, but some humans unfortunately have taken to those means as a way of, in their mind, achieving what they think is necessary. But within us, we have the potentiality to do that. And that is contained in both our light and dark aspects, that possibility. Our choice is whether we act on them or not, or whether we choose to follow a path that looks for greater harmony, greater balance, good for the collective, compassion, love, kindness. And so ravens can really help us to work with that balance between the light and dark, acknowledging and not pushing away aspects of ourselves where we might be tempted to be selfish or self-serving or even destructive, but learning how to let those go and not act on them. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to stop there. I did read a bit about the ravens in a wonderful oracle card set that I have about Celtic animals, and they phrased a wonderful thing that they called the resolution of the opposites, and I really loved that. And it's a bit about the light and the dark, male, female, and if we polarize them, it causes trouble. But if we can bring them together in acceptance and integration and integrate ourselves, then we can proceed in a balanced and meaningful way. And I think that's what all of us are called and encouraged to do in service in this lifetime. So tuning in. We don't need to have all the answers ourselves, because how would we possibly know? But when we ask and we listen and we receive and then we act on that guidance, that's when we start to co-create. And that's what it means to co-create. So there you are. Hope I haven't put too much into that one. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for being here, whether you're live or whether you're watching the replay. It's wonderful to have you here, and thank you for your support. Sue's here. Hi, Sue. She says it's great to hear about the Raven again. Thank you. Oh, it's my pleasure, Sue. It's lovely to have you here. And please, tune into the full replay if you missed the beginning of that. So I'm going to love you and leave you. I shall be back, all being well, fingers crossed, if it is meant to be, next Friday. Where are we? Which is the 9th of August. We've got a lovely new moon on Sunday. So if you're wanting to bring in some new, maybe work with Raven and your ancestors, your healthy ancestors, and ask them to help you with that. So lots of love. Take good care, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now. Bye.